Welcome everyone to the Immigrant Leads Boston graduation ceremony. Let's give a round of applause for all the graduates tonight who are sitting in the front 2 rows. Thank you everyone for coming. My name is Monique Nguyen. I am the Executive Director of the Mayor's Office for Immigrant Advancement, also known as MOIA. I'd like to begin by welcoming the friends and families of our graduates who've supported this cohort throughout their lives and also through this program. And to our ILB alums who are here, and also City of Boston's Chief of Staff, Tiffany Chu, and our City Hall and City Council colleagues who are here as well, especially for those who did ILB sessions and spoke at our sessions this season, including Deputy Chief of Staff Yusufi Valley, who started this program in 2020, Director Alicia Porcina, City Councilors Flynn, Lujian, Coletta, and many more. I also want to have a special thank you to our very special guest, Mayor Raymond Flynn, for joining us tonight. Let's give a shout out for Mayor Flynn over here, sitting right here. He is the reason why our department exists, because 35 years ago, while he was mayor in 1984 through 1993, he was a mayor and pioneered the development of our office, because he saw that there was a lot of hatred towards Vietnamese immigrants, and he wanted to make sure that all immigrants in the city of Boston were not targeted and felt included in the city, and that legacy continues on this day through Mayor Wu's administration. And tonight we congratulate our 20 immigrant leaders who I know will continue to do great things for the city and our communities. After tonight, they are joining our Immigrant Leads Boston alumni network, making 58 strong alums and counting. So let's give a round of applause for growing our movement. MOIA started Immigrant Leads Boston in 2020 because it became clear to us that immigrant leadership is critical to our communities through COVID-19 and beyond. But they often aren't networked enough and haven't had the opportunity to learn how best to navigate the system due to not growing up in this country. I wish I had ILB for my family when I was growing up. Whenever I was an undocumented student in Houston, Texas, I didn't know that I was entitled to in-state tuition. It took me 3 years. I was paying out-of-state international fees for 3 years until I did enough research and talked to enough people to find out that I didn't have access to something that everyone else had access to. And I wondered oftentimes if my family had a program like ILB or a department like MOIA, our lives would be a little bit different. So that's the work that I aim to do through my department and supporting immigrant leaders like you all and their communities to make sure that we advocate for inclusion and equal access just like everyone else. And I'm hoping that you see us as a resource as you continue on to develop your leadership in your community. This program aims to close that gap in knowledge and network, and so our immigrant leaders have a seat at the table, and for you to help us grow this city to be truly a city for all. Our Immigrant Leads Boston alumni have testified for the driver's license bill that passed earlier this year. Many have joined commissions and nonprofits and are shaping the future of this city, and some even now work for the city of Boston. I have big hopes for this class and what you'll continue to do for our city. These past 12 weeks have been a learning experience for me, honoring the philosophy that everyone teaches, everyone learns. I was just sharing that I literally started my role with you guys when you started your program, and I feel like I'm graduating with you because I'm passing my 3-month mark. And 2 days from now is on December 18th every year is International Migrants Day. It's a United Nations Day of Observance to call on cities for sustainable development, to make sure that immigrants are migrating with safety, but also are part of the inclusion of infrastructures for city. And I'm proud that the city of Boston and under our administration that is going to be a priority for us all. With that, with the wonderful program for tonight, let's begin with the graduating class. I welcome Manuel and Mashika to the front of the room to offer some of their reflections. Let's give them a round of applause for them coming up.
My name is Mashika Joseph, and I was born and raised in Boston, Massachusetts. I am a proud member of Boston's vibrant Haitian immigrant community. I joined Immigrants Lead Boston because I saw it as an opportunity to strengthen my voice within the city of Boston so that I may share that strength with my own community. Oftentimes, people of color, specifically immigrants, are made to feel like they do not belong. Boston has done an amazing job of including immigrant families in their goal of having and sustaining a multicultural city. Immigrants Lead Boston's mission greatly aligned with what I had always wanted to become for my community: a trusted, reliable, and informed member of Boston who would be able to be a great resource for those who did not know where to turn for help. I remember being 8 years old, getting dropped off at the local health center with my grandmother to translate at her doctor's appointment. I felt courageous. At that moment, I knew that I had a responsibility greater than myself. I had witnessed the struggles my family faced when it came to navigating healthcare, immigration, education, and so on. The fact that they did not understand how and where to get help due to a language barrier, they relied heavily on me to gather that information, understand it, and pass it along to other family members. From that experience, I had decided who I wanted to be in the future. I wanted to be a leader, an advocate, and a source of information for those in my community who desperately needed it, but often felt unseen. Immigrants Lead Boston has empowered and validated my voice in order to better serve my community. I have learned that not only do I have a voice to speak up for those who are unable to, but I also have the power to question, to analyze, and to enact change. I've learned that knowledge is truly power, and that the more information we have, the more powerful our communities are. I'm excited to continue to partner with the Mayor's Office for Immigrant Advancement, to collaborate and to encourage my community to use their voices and to become a civically active member of the City of Boston.
First, I want to say thank you for being here despite our weather that wasn't in our favor today. My name is Manuel Coronado. I'm currently a junior at Suffolk University, pursuing a career in law and political science. I was born and raised in Panama. I moved to the United States about 4 years ago and have been living in Jamaica Plain since. When I first moved to this city, I didn't know much about the state government infrastructure or the resources they have for the immigrant community. Information seemed so out of reach for me as a newly integrated immigrant, especially because how broken my English was. I thought I was the only one who felt that way, until I started attending Brighton High School, a school full of young immigrants wanting to achieve the American dream. During my senior year, I remember being excited because I got accepted into a four-year college, but on the other side of the classroom, there were classmates crying because they couldn't attend college at all. This is because of a lack of resources and support being offered. I couldn't understand how this could be happening in a city like Boston. It was frustrating to see that brilliant minds could not achieve a higher education because they simply didn't get enough financial support. As you may know, Massachusetts doesn't offer in-state tuition for undocumented immigrants, something that should be addressed because that is a huge barrier for undocumented immigrants to attend college. Then the COVID-19 pandemic hit, negatively affecting access to housing, education, transportation, and economic resources. It also highlighted the inequality that has been existing in the immigrant community. During the pandemic, I could see how many individuals in my community did not seek for state help. They felt like they could not speak up, almost as if they had no right to do so. This is why I joined Immigrant Lead Boston. I wanted to fully understand how policies and initiatives in the city of Boston are cultivated and implemented. I wanted to understand how and what they're doing to support immigrants in Boston. I wanted to be able to give every single immigrant in Boston a voice, and not necessarily by speaking on their behalf, but by giving them the boost of confidence they need to speak for themselves, to be their own voice. Now that the program is over, I can say with confidence that I did the right thing by joining. I have learned that although there is a lot of work to be done, the City of Boston is doing its best to support our community. There are resources out there, and as immigrants, we have all the rights to ask for them regardless of our immigration status or language. I have learned that it's completely welcome to reach out to city officials. This is what they're elected for, to hear our voices and take action. Lastly, I have learned that we immigrants belong in this city. I thank every single speaker that has spoken or will speak today on behalf of the program. They took the time to help us understand the resources Boston has for us and how they work. They share knowledge that as Immigrants Lead Boston participants can use to support our community. Our work as advocates is not done. I truly believe that every single one of us will use the knowledge and connections to take action now and in the future. Let's continue supporting our community so that no one feels ever excluded. Thank you.
Thank you for those reflections, Mashika and Manuel. I'm so proud to be able to continue cultivating all the leadership that we started seeding here today as we build an alumni network and make sure that we're able to exercise on making sure the city is inclusive and we stay on target with that promise. And now we'd like to welcome our keynote speaker, Chief of Staff Tiffany Chu of the City of Boston, who will be representing the mayor tonight. Let's give her a round of applause.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thank you so much, Monique, and congrats on your first 3 months. You haven't run away yet. I'm so honored to be here tonight and want to give a special shout out and thank you to Council President Flynn, Mayor Flynn, Councilor Louis-Jean, and our Deputy Chief of Staff, Yusufi Valley, who launched this program into existence a few years ago. And thank you so much, Mashika and Manuel, for sharing your stories with us. They were very moving. I'm so excited to be celebrating this milestone with you all this evening. This program means a lot to me. It means a lot to the city. And the reason why it's important to me is because I am a daughter of immigrants, like so many of you in this room. My parents emigrated from Taiwan to Flushing, New York in the early 1980s. And I think the role that I remember most, and I think many of you can also empathize with, is being a gateway, a translator for your parents when they were your caretakers, but you also took care of them in many ways too. And that caretaking took on many different forms over many different years. When I was little in elementary school, it took on the form of translating permission slips from school or instructions for the bake sale that my mom had to bake, the evening of. And then it became, letters from official-looking companies, like insurance companies that could be really scary because you didn't know what they were asking for, and I knew how to Google, and they didn't really know how to Google yet. And then last year I had this really proud moment of translation when my mom called me in the middle of the day. I'm like, Mom, I'm working. And she asked me to help her write an email to her boss to ask for a promotion, to ask for a raise. And I felt so incredibly proud that I could do it for her and that she took the initiative to do that herself. So there's so many stories of what it means to be an immigrant, child of immigrants, grandchildren of immigrants, and obviously that is the backbone foundation of our entire nation. And Boston, in particular, needs your stories. And by being leaders in your communities, you are bringing your communities with you, uplifting them, and empowering them, and that's how we build a better Boston for us all. So excited, so incredibly excited to see what you all do in your next steps and your incredible trajectories. And thank you so much for choosing to spend your time with us, for being a part of Immigrants Lead Boston, and can't wait to continue working with you for many years to come.
Thank you, Chief Chu. Today we're also celebrating the development of the Mayor's Office for Immigrant Advancement 35 years ago. Mayor Flynn pioneered this office when he was mayor of Boston, and I'd like to welcome him and Boston City Councilor Ed Flynn to the stage. Thank you both for joining us here today.
Good evening, everyone. It's an honor to be here with you tonight and have the opportunity of meeting so many distinguished leaders for one of the most important challenges we face as a country. I saw the whole story of immigrants in America way, way, way back. And I can tell you the contributions that they have made have been magnificent for our country. Eddie's been in the military for 25 years, off and on. Now he's the Boston City Councilor, president. But he's worked among many, many immigrants, and he used to come to me when he came back from leave or home on furlough. And he'd be telling about the people that he's serving with, whether it's in the Middle East, or it's in Cuba, or it's in Europe, whatever it is. And it's just incredible. They were always waiting, willing, anxious to learn. And the amazing loyalty they had for our country, for the United States, is something that really warms your heart, because they were there in a time of need. And that's you and the program that I established when I was mayor of Boston. And I'm so glad I did, because of the fact that I have seen, I don't know that many people that I saw here tonight and talked to tonight. It was really wonderful to see and hear the stories. I just have a couple of comments, but I certainly wanted to thank in outreach to the immigrant population going way back in the early days of Boston. You've had the courage, and the people that you continue to bring forward, you're bringing them forward, not just for them, which of course it is helpful to them, but it is very, very important to our country, the United States of America. So a shout out to the immigrants, all immigrants, for what they have done for our country. I want to thank Mayor Wu in her administration for inviting me here tonight into the Office of Immigrant Advancement for the wonderful work. I'm happy to be here today at the Immigrant Lead Boston graduation ceremony, not only because we celebrate the achievements of these wonderful graduates, we're proud to be among them, but also because we are near the 35th anniversary of the creation of the Mayor's Office for Immigrant Advancement, an office that I was proud to create while I was the mayor of the city of Boston. In 1987, our immigrant neighbors faced various challenges, especially from the federal government, as it cracked down on Irish, Haitian, and many, many from the Central America, various countries, many of whom I met here tonight, living not only here in Boston, but in the greater Boston area. I know that our immigrant neighbors are an integral part of our city. I knew it then, I knew it at an early age, because I was brought up and born among them from different parts of the world, so that our city government can better provide resources and services to those who are here in their new country. The Immigrant Rights Unit lived up to its mission. They certainly did, and became the connection point for our government to reach out to our immigrant residents. It provided health care, training, legal services, and other resources for our diverse immigrant communities. Now, 35 years later, The Immigrant Rights Unit is now an Office of Immigrant Advancement and is still in the forefront of making sure that our immigration and our immigrant neighbors are supported. My friends, we are a country of immigrants. Our immigrant residents are not only our neighbors, colleagues, and friends, but they are the leaders and will certainly be even more so in the months and years to come. I am proud of the graduates here today. They indeed will lead Boston if they're not already doing it in many cases. I'm also proud of the work of the Immigrant Rights Unit and the Office of Immigrant Advancement. I want to thank Mayor Wu, her administration, and Director Monique, and her staff for the commitment to advocating for immigrant rights. And I look forward to the great work that this office will do in the future. Thank you, immigrants, from the people of Boston. God bless you.
Thank you. I'm also honored to be here with my colleagues on the Boston City Council, including Councilor Coletta, who represents District 1, and Councilor Rutzi Louijen, who's an at-large city councilor. I want to say thank you to Tiffany, to my good friend Yusuf, who does tremendous work here and in the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Advancement. But I also want a special thank you to Mayor Wu, who as a city councilor provided strong and courageous support for immigrants and their families as a city councilor, certainly now as mayor as well. So on behalf of the city council, on behalf of my colleagues that are here, we want to say thank you to the graduates for their major contribution and sacrifices to our city and country. Congratulations on this wonderful achievement that you have earned tonight, and your family as well. So we're proud of you, and we're so happy that you're residents of Boston. Have a good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the Flynn family for leaving the legacy that we're all building upon today. Now I'm moving on to helping with reading the names of the graduates. And we're gonna have Chief Chu help me read the names and also your neighborhood and present you with their certificate from the City of Boston. Graduates, please come up when you hear your name and accept your certificate and smile for the picture. So where's the spot for the smiling? So I'm gonna model it, so like you come up. You can give them out. I give them out, and then you stand here for the picture. Is it here? Like this? Sorry. Okay. So now we have, here we go. Daisy of East Boston. Daisy Gutierrez. You should be in the comment. Practice.
3, 2, 1.
Thank you.
Mishika Joseph.
From Mattapan.
Anuradha Sadhu from Roxbury. Khaled Arnua from Brighton.
Oh, not yet. Okay. We'll still go.
Yay! Narda Peña Reyes from East Boston. Dawit Samiri from Jamaica Plain. Cindy Marchando from Alston.
Sorry, broke protocol. Good.
Jose Guillermo Huezo from Jamaica Plain. Comments? Okay. Blanca Ramirez from Roslindale. Karina Flores from East Boston. Manuel Coronado from Jamaica Plain. Marze Satter from Roslindale. Ramon Ballesteros from Brighton.
¡Viva México!
Nathan Bisimois from Dorchester.
Thank you.
And last but not least, Rafael Roni from Dorchester. Okay.
All right. We're gonna do a group photo. Yeah. So where should we stand, photographer? Maybe if we all can all come up, maybe to the front here. Maybe that's gonna be nice. Yes. And I would like to have the city councilors come up as well, and then Mayor Flynn and other city staff.
You guys have to get closer, everybody. Yeah. Because the front shot so good. Promote here in front of me. Yeah. I can see myself. Yeah, I guess I'm above.
No one gets left out here.
Three, two, one. You guys want to do a silly shot for fun? Okay. 3, 2, 1.
At this time, we have another special guest joining us tonight, Mayor Michelle Wu. Can we zoom it? Can we make it bigger somehow?
Great question.
I think that's okay. That's good. Yeah, she's joining us virtually, and I'm proud to be able to work for Mayor Wu because her story of being a daughter of immigrants really resonated with mine. And because of that and her inspiration, she makes equity as part of her work in City Hall every single day. She is the best example of an immigrant leader, affecting change in big and small ways. Mayor, thank you so much for taking time from your schedule. It really means a lot to us that you're here. Thank you for your commitment to immigrant communities and leaders as such as yourself and committing to leadership in our communities. Thank you, Mayor Wu.
Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, it sounds like we might get a little back and forth, so tell me if it gets hard. First of all, I am so sorry that I'm not there with you in the room. I've really, really wanted to hug you all and be there to cheer you on in person. Oh, is it okay audio-wise? Okay. And we had a childcare issue come up. So my husband, I didn't realize, had another thing that he absolutely needed to be at. And so he couldn't be home. We tried to figure out if we could come with the kids, and then I would miss you all. So anyway, I'm so sorry. I really wanted to be there in person, and I'm really grateful to have a chance to at least say hi virtually and congratulate all of our participants on your leadership and what you are doing, not only to help strengthen yourselves and your families, but really our entire communities. I think as you've heard, and as some of you know from the times that we've been together in community, my entire way that I see the world is very much shaped from my experience and identity as coming from an immigrant family and being a daughter of immigrants. I'm the oldest of 4 kids in my family and the oldest girl, and that always came with a certain set of expectations and responsibilities. And it meant that from the time that I learned English in school, 4 years old, 5 years old, I was very regularly used to just kind of suiting up anytime we left the house, no matter what weather, no matter what season. There was a feeling of when we crossed that threshold and went out into the world, I would get pushed out in front, even as a very young child, to be the translator and the interpreter for my parents, who took a while to feel comfortable in English. And it wasn't always just about language. It was culture. It was the looks that sometimes our family would get in spaces where people were not always used to seeing people who looked like us. And that has always shaped everything that I do. The feeling of being able to having to flip right inside the home. My parents knew everything, were in charge of everything, took care of everything. And then as soon as we stepped over that doorway, to see that role really rely on a young child taught me a lot early on. I was asked recently in a group of fellow mayors from around the country, people said, what was the first moment that you came to an understanding that things needed to change in the world and that you wanted to be part of changing that? And I thought and actually remembered an experience that I hadn't talked about for more than 30 years. And it was, okay. I'll go fast. Otherwise they're going to come in here and give a speech soon too. When I was probably, I was probably 5 or 6 years old. I remember it was a really exciting time because my grandpa was in town, my mom's dad, and he lived very far away. He lived in Hawaii, and he had immigrated from Taiwan to Hawaii. He lived in a public housing development there. My family had immigrated from Taiwan to Chicago, and so they lived there. And because no one had a lot of resources, when he rarely was able to come visit us, and when he did come, he would stay for a long time. And he came around this time of year, maybe a little earlier in the fall, but we knew that since he was be here for a couple of weeks, one of the first things he needed was to get a big winter coat for the Chicago weather that he was not used to. We went to, of all places, Burlington Coat Factory, which I don't even know if it's still around, but I can still picture being a young girl running among all the big coats on all sides, hiding in the racks and just playing while my mom and grandpa were helping him try, they're trying on all the different coats and things. And finally he found one that he liked. We paid at the register and then went to leave the store when the alarm system at the door went off. And all of a sudden, these big men, I remember looking up at how gigantic they seemed, ushered us into a side room. And we were in a kind of three-way interrogation where my grandpa had, in the midst of trying on everything, and he's older, he had forgotten that there was a pair of gloves still in his pocket. And they were insisting that he was trying to steal that. He was trying to explain to me and to my mom in Mandarin. I was trying to explain to them in English. And it was around and around, and just feeling so helpless and powerless in that situation. And finally, they agreed just to let us go, and that it was a misunderstanding. But on the way out, I remember they said to me to tell my mom and grandpa to never come back to that store again. And I remember even at that age deciding to myself, I'm not going to translate that part for them because we have already faced so much humiliation already. I had kept it together a lot. I didn't, just was strong through that whole experience. And basically as soon as we got home, I was just crying and crying and crying. And I remember then hearing a knock on my bedroom door, and it was my grandpa, but he was inside, came to my door all dressed in his big coat, right? He was wearing the coat. And he said to me, don't think about the gloves, think about the coat and all the fun that we're going to have. And just to me, in some ways, that is the immigrant experience. You go through so much. You experience such sometimes intense discrimination and barriers and things that no one should have to go through. And at the end of the day, still find ways to give back to the community and to be resilient and to inspire the next generation and to show how much we love being part of this society and in fellowship with our common, with our fellow human beings. That is what drives me every day, knowing what it's like in rooms where the power is very different, where the barriers are very high, even though they're invisible for language and culture, and realizing that on this side, in that very special building that you all are sitting in, we have a chance to change completely who sees themselves as part of the power, who is heard, who is understood, who sits at these tables, and more importantly, who can get these decision-making conversations out of that building and into our neighborhoods for all of our community members to be part of. That is my driving force every day. I'm so blessed to be working alongside the team members that we have. Monique, thank you so much for your leadership. And I believe Tiffany and Yusufi are in the room as well. And I know some of my colleagues on the city council are there with you, who it is just a joy and a privilege to work alongside every day. We share a mission of wanting to ensure that we are speaking up where it matters, but most importantly, taking action so that we are changing the system for everyone else to come to have a different experience. So thank you so much to City Council President Ed Flynn, Councillor Lujan, Councillor Coletta, and Mayor and Ambassador Flynn, who is an inspiration. We continue to build on his legacy. We're so grateful for all of you, because in stepping into these positions of power, you're changing every conversation that happens in every room across our city. And I want to make sure we're a place where every young child, as soon as they step foot across that threshold, whether from their home to the outside world or from the outside world into City Hall, they know that this is their city, and you all are a critical part of helping us get there. So thank you, and congratulations to everyone.
Thank you, Mayor Wu, for sharing your reflections and your stories. And I think it's a great way for us to continue the dialogue. I feel like we've shared so many stories. We feel like we're in community with you, our struggles and development in leadership. And our graduates actually have a few questions for you if you have some time. Yeah? So
yeah, it's just, it can be a little bit hard to hear when you're speaking from however far away you are right now. So if people could ask a little closer, that would be much appreciated.
So we can have Ramon. He's prepared a question. Maybe you can come up. Maybe do you speak to the?
I'm not sure which.
Where's the mic? Right this? Okay, maybe.
The podium mic, but speak loudly.
Okay.
Okay. Mayor Wu, everybody, thank you for having us here at the City Hall. Mayor Wu, as an immigrant, can you describe us like your personal challenge or goal when you became Boston's mayors?
I think, you know, I have had the honor of working in City Hall for some time before being mayor. And so I came with an understanding of the many issues that we have a unique chance to impact in city government, and that the city council and our administration get to work on, whether it's housing prices that are going up far too fast, or our schools that we want to make sure our spaces we're proud of for every child, jobs that and small businesses we want to support, and safe and healthy streets and communities. I think the way I think about all of that in one big challenge really connects back to the story I was telling, that I felt very much in that moment in the room in the coat store that this wasn't a store for me. It wasn't a city for me. And in my deepest gut at that time, I really was living in my family's kind of immigrant mindset that this country was still not feeling like a home that was as excited to receive us as my parents had been excited to come here. And so most of all, I think my goal for the city is that we are a city for everyone, where in Boston, we're very lucky that over many, many, many decades, you know, and Mayor Flynn and Mrs. Flynn really helped set the tone of who belongs in the city. And we have a rich immigrant history that we have lifted up. It's been different waves of immigration from different parts of the world, but I think that shared connection that we will be a beacon, a safe harbor, a refuge for all remains an important part of our identity. We have to now enact that in the policies, because then when it comes down to who actually gets funding, who actually can find a place that they can afford to live, that is where we still see a lot of work to be done in terms of Boston being a city for everyone. We've made some great strides this year, even having our 311 app that you can report any city issues. It's now in 11 different languages, which for the first time. We have cabinets and structures that are now built up to really try to reach every community where they are, instead of forcing people to just come into City Hall. But we have a lot more work to do, and I want to reshape the sense of what's possible when everyone is part of what we do here.
Thank you very much, Mayor. As a Mexican, as a LGBT member, as a runner, as an immigrant, we're so happy to be here and to join us on this program. Thank you so much.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So my question is, what do you think about the Mayor's Youth Council being mostly about students from private schools, exempt schools, and higher-ranking schools?
I think I missed maybe a little bit at the end of the question, but I think I got the gist of it around the potential for the Mayor's Youth Council and how the members can be plugged into all sorts of actions that the city takes. Is that right?
Yeah.
This is, again, a legacy of former administrations that we have been really grateful to receive. There's nothing like the superpower of young people's creativity and passion and sense of possibility for how the world could be different from what we might be used to. I intend to keep us following the lead of young people in this city and to continue making sure that young people believe that, you know, in a world where they get many signals that they're not ready for this, or they're not, you know, allowed to do this or that or the other, that we can be a place where people can help make decisions and decide where money goes in our budget and reshape new cabinets. In fact, we have, I don't know if this is fully public yet, but I'm just going to say it. We have, through the leadership of Chief Jose Masso, settled on creating a youth advancement office, youth engagement and advancement office. I think YEA is going to be the new name, because some of what the former office used to focus on was youth jobs, which are now living in our worker empowerment cabinet. And so we'll be able to really focus on outreach overall, not just for a one-time gig in the summer that we need people to apply for and get through, but on every range of issues. And I know the counselors have been great partners in elevating youth voices and fighting for there to be even more, such as recently passing the home rule petition that we've sent up to the state to allow for empower 16 and 17-year-olds to vote as well.
Thank you. I do think that with you and with my classmates, I can see like Boston in the future having like more English high school students or more Brighton students in the Youth Council. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. My question is, I think we can sort of acknowledge there's still a lot of inequities and a lot of disparities that still exist in Boston. So I would love to hear a little bit more about your vision. You know, what does an equitable and inclusive Boston look like for you?
That is the vision of our city. And I think the way that I want to frame, you know, we could talk about all sorts of metrics, you know, for example, that we are aiming to produce out of the entirety of the new housing that we permit and allow, that 30%, at least 30% must be affordable and deed restricted, that our transportation system functions and has free bus service that allows people to get to where they need to go, that we are boosting home ownership rates, and that every single one of our schools is a space that we celebrate and are proud of. But I think the best way to summarize all of that is just that it would feel convenient, comfortable, easy, that it's not a mental exercise that you have to go through to access so many of the city services that are basic to people's lives right now. And, you know, now you can hear my kids fighting and bouncing outside. They're 5 years old and 8 years old. And when each one of them was born, you have so much joy. And then immediately after that, so much anxiety about, well, how am I going to find childcare? How am I going to afford it? Where will they go to school? Every step of the way, there's so much mental energy that has to go into ensuring their safety and health and happiness. We can take action so that that just becomes automatic and convenient, and so that no one has to think about that anymore. Right? For example, Mayor Flynn, when he was in the role that I'm in now, when he was sitting in the 5th floor at City Hall, created an on-site childcare program for city workers. And it has completely changed how I was able to be a working mom, have 2 kids while serving the city and working in that building. And it just became one more thing that I could not have to worry about. And so that idea that all of us should have the freedom and the opportunity to live joyful, supported, connected lives, I think ultimately that is a vision. And then of course, there's a lot of details in the middle of it.
Thank you.
Mayor, we have 2 more questions to wrap up with you, if that's okay. Yeah? So,
hello, Mayor Wu. My question is, how could we help the city as ILB graduates with immigration issues in our community?
Well, the person who just spoke before you is probably the best equipped to answer this. You know, I think I'm really proud that Boston has had an Office of Immigrant Advancement for so many years. And before it was called MOIA, it was called the Mayor's Office for New Bostonians. And I think we've always believed that even though this is technically a national, international issue, that because our immigrant communities are our neighbors, our family members, our workforce, our entrepreneurs and small business owners, that it very much is a city issue as well. In fact, with MOIA's advocacy and with the leadership of Monique and Yusufi and others in the city, we have been pushing a lot to ensure that the state and the federal government are responsive to the situation on the ground, which city and community members know best. We all know that there have been families who haven't been on the news, you know, necessarily flying in a plane from Florida, but who have come to our city needing resources and support and wanting to make that better life for themselves and their kids. And everybody has been pitching in here and there. Many of our organizations on the ground, I know Councillor Lujan in particular has been extremely active and leading alongside organizations like IFSI in our community, particularly to work and help house and provide supports and food and opportunities for our Haitian community members coming in. But there are community members coming in from all around the world to our city right now because immigration processes are too drawn out and people aren't getting legal authorization as quickly as they should in response to a request for asylum or other work authorization. We know that the timeframes of some of our state agencies and the resources that do exist don't necessarily match the time. Not everyone is coming between 7 a.m. and 3 p.m. on Monday through Friday. And the city is where and our community organizations are where we're helping to fill some of those gaps. And so if you want to get involved, you know, I'm going to volunteer Monique and the team because we're always looking for partners to help us get information out, but most importantly, bring information in as well. What is the situation on the ground? Where are you seeing the need? And then how can we then help add and formulate this into our lists of advocacy requests to the state and federal government where it needs to be, or to some of our partners in the community or to other funders so that we can step in right now and with what we're seeing in this moment in Boston.
Thank you.
Hello, Mayor. My question is, what is an important skill or norm for working in the political world?
Oh, sorry, can you say it again? The sound cut in and out.
I said that my question is, what is an important skill or norm for working in the political world?
What is an important skill?
And norm for working in the political world.
Oh, I see. Where should I start? It has been, I will just honestly share, it's been a really intense learning curve for me to be in politics, given how I was raised and the culture that I grew up in. And in some ways, the culture that I grew up in also represents a multi-generational immigrant story. My parents came from Taiwan to the US in the 1980s. But they themselves were also the children of immigrants because both sets of my grandparents had fled mainland China to Taiwan during Civil War in the 1940s. And so I remember when I had the chance in college, I got a scholarship to go work abroad for one summer. So I went to China for a summer. And when I thought it would finally be a place where I could feel like everyone, more people looked like me and could speak the language and understood. Maybe I would finally feel like I really was rooted and connected to society and everything. And then it turns out when I met young people my age in China, and I told them about kind of all the traditions that we had growing up, they called me sort of very old-fashioned because we were still doing very traditional things like bowing all the way to the ground to my grandparents at holidays and special events. And because my grandparents had immigrated over to Taiwan and taken the culture that they grew up in to a different place, and then my parents took that to a different place, in some ways I was, while the young people who looked like me in China were watching Western TV and they were like, you seem like you're from a time capsule. And so the culture that I grew up in was quite traditional. It was, be seen and not heard. The best praise was that I was, hen guai, which is like respectful, quiet, not challenging authority. And politics has to be the opposite of that in a lot of ways. I think first is there is a sense of you can practice anything and it'll get more comfortable. And I remember my first city council meetings, how much time and effort I put into really preparing every little bit of everything I could possibly say, because I'm so shy that I felt nervous and I really needed to just have that extra preparation for it. And then it got easier and easier. And then it got easier and easier. And then the other piece I would say is that you don't have to follow other people's norms. You make your own when you sit in seats of leadership. And of course, there's a little bit of give and take to making sure that everybody feels comfortable in every space. And sometimes I will do things that might feel a little bit out of my comfort zone because I really want to make someone else feel comfortable, but it should really flow both directions. And I hope that if I'm honest about how hard it is to be a mom and do this job and everything like that, then maybe it'll make it easier for some other moms or people who come from a background like mine, or those who might not see themselves as represented, to feel like it's okay to be, considered different at the time, and then you just shift the norm of what is expected.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Wu, for spending your time with us and helping us close in such a beautiful way, because I think as leadership, it's just you finding your own way as a leader and you stepping into spaces where you're most powerful, whether it be your language, your culture, the stories that inspire you. So Mayor Wu is an epitome of that. And please thank her and her children for lending us time with her today. Thank you. And now I would like to bring up Hawa Yusuf, who is our, applause. Thank you. I don't know how to do this hybrid thing. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much. So I'd like to bring up Hawa Yusuf, who is our civic engagement coordinator, who basically ran this program and made it possible for this program to continue. And let's give her a round of applause, and she's going to close us out for the night.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me? I don't know. Is she? Can you guys hear me? Yes. Okay, awesome. My name is Hawa Yusuf. I am the Civic Engagement Coordinator for MOIA, and this is my second time with Immigrant Lead Boston. And I'm so glad. I have some prepared remarks, but I just want to take it in and yeah. Thank you. So this has been a 12-week program. 3 months of working with you guys throughout the interview process, reviewing our applications, having our first session, and then 10 weeks of intensive work, 2-hour-long sessions where we got to learn about how the city works. And I'm so happy to have met you guys, and I hope that it's been a joy learning and growing with you all, and rest assured this is not the end. IOB will continue to build its alumni network, and will continue our efforts of making Boston a more diverse, inclusive, and equitable community for our immigrants. I want to just give a special thanks to Sarah, who is our Civic Engagement Fellow, who has made this program possible as well. And I also want to thank Renato Castello. And I just want to congratulate you guys. You know, I'm not a good public speaker, so thank you all. And now I'm going to give it back to Monique.
All right, well, thank you everyone for coming tonight, and especially Chief Chu, Mayor Flynn, City Councilor Ed Flynn, and Councilor Lujan, and Coletta, who was here earlier today, and also for saying a few words, even congratulating our folks before you headed off home tonight. Also, thank you for the MOIA team. There's been it was a team effort. Even though we had the civic engagement team on it, we also have this whole bigger team to make everything possible, from blowing balloons to printing things out, popping balloons, cleaning things up. So everything from like brainstorming to troubleshooting, and also. And I think one of the most powerful things that we were able to do this whole season was that a lot of the lessons and learnings that you guys had in sessions, we actually talked about in our staff meetings, or even resonated with us. So we felt that we were in a connection and community with you all. And this year's ILB class, it was so great to learn and get to know you. And I think, if anything, you guys were my onboarding team to the city of Boston. I felt like whenever I joined mayor's office, I was like just thrown in there, just hit the ground running with all the things that were I had to deal with. But then meeting with you guys were like the ones who gave me the deep insight of what's in the communities right now. And I really thank you for that gift you've given me during this time, and the team with you. And thanks to all the friends and family. I like the cheer section over there with the Ramon. I think I need to level up my friend network over there. And please sign up please stay in touch with our office. Please sign up for our newsletter through our website so we can stay in touch with you guys. And we're going to continue building up the alumni network. So please don't run away. We still need your leadership to help make this program better and stronger before we launch into multiple languages. That's so key. That's something that's a vision that's going to be a seed that we want to be done for Spanish ILB, Haitian ILB, Cape Verdean ILB. We'll need all those languages. So we need your help to master that before we launch into those languages. Well, thank you all, and have a good night. And please stick around and give each other last minute hugs and congratulations, and we'll head home. Thank you.
Also, there's lots of food downstairs.
Oh yeah,
so
please help us.
Help yourselves. Take some to go. Thank you.